Hi, everybody. Hey. This is Mia, your mystic therapist, and I am here to talk about just some stuff that's been on my mind lately. So I'm going to be a little bit more raw and vulnerable and honest with y'all on my podcast because why not? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. As a therapist, we really do have to be mindful of self-disclosure, but as a spiritualist, I'm going to use my life lessons to teach you guys lessons, right? My life experiences. So, you know, as you all know, people who've been following me for a long time, I was in a long-term relationship, moved across the country with my last partner, and we ended up going our separate ways. And it's been an interesting journey. And when I say y'all, it's literally no bad blood. Like, I wish him all the best. It was one of the most peaceful breakups ever. I'm not going to put his business out there, but let's just say our morals and values weren't really, and principles, weren't really in alignment with each other's for a long-term healthy relationship. We can say that. So I have, taken a little bit of time off and, just was focusing on myself, loving on me, healing. I don't feel like I had to do like a whole lot of, I don't want to say I don't feel like I had to do a whole lot of healing. I'm always doing my shadow work, but I definitely took a couple of months off of just like dating men and just really focused on loving on myself. And so recently, in the last month or so, I've gotten back into dating and talking to new people. And it's so interesting, y'all. Here is some stuff that I'm finding. Well, let me pause because y'all, listen. It's interesting. So the last time I was single, I was in Houston. And that was in 2020? Yeah, that was in 2020. Yeah. So it was a little different. At that time, I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was just having fun when I was single because I had just moved to Houston, whatever. And then I, met my last partner. And this time I'm living in a whole nother state. So I'm in Virginia. So that means I'm attracting people from, the DMV, right? And something that I'm noticing a lot is like a lot of the men are really, really hurt and wounded. And I hate to say bitter. This is not a negative against men thing. I'm like, some men are really, really bitter, but some women are pretty bitter too. And what I'm noticing is that, the men are being mishandled by the women and the women are being mishandled by the men. Women have gone way too far with the feminist movement, and the get the bag, all he's good for is the bag energy. Pay for nothing wrong with prostitution. I actually think it's a sacred job. I don't do it, but I respect prostitutes and strippers and everything. I stand for sex workers. Like, I'm very sex positive, but just a lot of men are very bitter with the fact that they don't really feel loved and cared for by who they truly are, and that they're only looked at as a resource, right? And so a lot of men are entering into connections, and I'm not saying the ones that I'm necessarily dealing with, because I tend to attract, for the most part, pretty deliciously energied people, but a couple of people may manifest and you just hear something, you're like, that's your experiences, okay. But what I'm hearing is that they want to be loved. They want to actually truly be loved, but the interesting thing that I'm seeing is, but they don't trust. There's not a lot of trust for women now, and I think that social media and like social media has a lot to do with it, because a lot of women, they were so tired of being hurt, so tired of being wounded. And now they have access to like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And you have all these quote unquote leaders telling them what to do and how to be and how to show up in the world, and that men are only good for this, or normalizing cheating on them. It's a lot of men getting cheated on left and right. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is they're just putting it out online. Like, they're putting it out online as if only women are going to see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just this distorted consciousness. Social media has given everybody this very distorted consciousness, whereas now, one guy who I really enjoyed talking to shared, like, after going on a date once, a girl will be like, oh, cash at me $500, oh, buy me this purse, And listen, honey, I am not here to say, oh, there's something wrong with women for wanting these things. No, she's allowed to have that. There's a certain type of man with a certain amount of money where that's not an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, $500 is nothing. A Louis Vuitton bag or whatever may have you is nothing. That's easy. These are men who are pretty well off or whatever, and that's something that they don't mind doing. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with women having those desires, but I do think that the way that people are navigating these dynamics have become extremely toxic, and it has really made men feel very non-trusting of women. But I, as a woman, I have to honestly sit here and say that it's really because women were giving so much love for years and centuries and decades. Love, 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 tolerating abuse, tolerating infidelity, tolerating being called a bee and a hoe. You know what I'm saying? Tolerating loving someone who didn't love them back, tolerating getting cheated on, getting beaten on. And after a certain point, they just got tired, and now they just started to rebel. This energy that women are exuding is an act of rebellion, or an act of rebellion against toxic patriarchal systems and relationships. And it's so interesting because some men are wanting it to go back to old times. Why can't women be submissive? Why can't women be the housewife? Why can't, wait, let me take the housewife part out. We're going to touch on that in a second. Why can't women, be submissive and learn when to shut up and let me lead and this, that, and the third? But back in those days, women weren't allowed to work. They had to stay in the house and take care of the kids and take care of the home. So the men financially provided for the entire families at that time. But in this reality, a lot of men are wanting women to be that way while they have to work 40 plus hours a week. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the dynamics, like you're wanting these women to go back to a certain energy. And in that energy, they had no choice but to tolerate certain things. You know what I'm saying? But then you're not really providing the space for her to even be in that energy. So now she's looking at you like, well, I got to do this, that, and the third. And then you want me to be in this energy. How, Sway? How? You know what I'm saying? And listen, I'm just calling what I'm seeing here. I'm not telling you that I agree with anybody. I'm going to share my own personal views and beliefs about everything. My views and beliefs really come from a higher perspective and a higher consciousness and understanding spirituality and what is actually currently happening on the planet energetically with this new earth energy. You already know the mystic therapist is going to come to you sharing what I'm practically seeing on this earth, but also sharing the esoteric. Boo, you already know. Like, so we're going to get into that in a second. Next, we're going to go into what I'm noticing within the women. A lot of women really still want true love. Like, that's the genuine truth. But what I'm discovering is, like, because of this imbalance that I'm going to touch on in a few minutes, A lot of men are not really emotionally able to show up for her, not really providing in a way that she's able to really rest in her feminine energy. Because if a woman is working 40 hours a week and she's out in the workforce, it's really difficult to be in your feminine energy because you're constantly having to do, which is a very masculine energy. So you mean to tell me a woman is in her masculine energy for 40 hours a week for outside of the house, and then she has to do this in the house, and then be expected to kind of shift. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy for women. It's not easy, right? For modern day 9-to-5 women, it's really not easy for them. It's really not. It's a lot of pressure. And I'm saying what I'm noticing, because I'll be honest, y'all. I feel quite privileged in this area. I don't have any children. I have a cat, I respect mothers so much because I think it's so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have any children. I don't work a 9-to-5. I'm an independent contractor. I have my own spiritual business. I do everything from home. So I get to wake up when I want to. I get to have a pretty, I work, but I still get to rest in my feminine energy with the way that I chose to live my life. Let's just say that. Right? But a lot of women don't have that luxury. A lot of women are single mothers, and they're dating and they're not let's also hit on single mothers. Mom, they're having these children with these men, and then they're being left with the children, a lot of them, right? And I'm not saying that it's the man's fault or the woman's fault. It's really situational. I know that some women can act up, some men can act up. A lot of unhealed trauma playing out. A lot of people have babies with karmic partners, which is like the person is in your life to teach you a lesson, not to be with you forever. I don't know. I can't really speak too much on it. Like I said, I don't have kids, so I can't judge or give an opinion on something. I just can't. I respect fathers so much, and I respect mothers, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. But coming back to the women, the women, they need help. I mean, they need financial help. The women want to be in their feminine energy again, so they're seeking resources. A lot of them. You know what I'm saying? They're seeking whether the man is married in a relationship, if he got some money, they after it, honey. You know what I'm saying? And that's the energy. And it's because they need help financially. They need help. But I mean, let's be honest. Let's go back to our ancestral times when the men and the women were living in alignment with our true nature, which women, we are giving birth and we're going through a monthly menstrual cycle, and we are creative and we're multifaceted. So the women were watching over the children and creating the homes out in nature, you know what I'm saying? And the men were outside getting the meat and hunting and building, and they work together in harmony to survive and thrive and continue on generations. That's the natural balance. So naturally, a woman at that time is going to look for a man who can provide resources. And it's not because she wants to use him. It's a very natural biological desire to ensure that your man can provide resources so that you can survive. And that your children don't die, and that you don't die, and that y'all have safety, y'all have a home, right? But another thing is women were very creative. So a lot of the times women were able to maybe make jewelry and sell stuff. So I believe that even if a woman is a stay-at-home wife or, a stay-at-home, whatever, girlfriend, partner, whatever, I highly recommend women to have their own businesses, even if you're just painting pictures and selling that just to make your own money. There's nothing wrong with making your own money. It don't have to be the only person bringing in income is the man, because honey, let me tell you something. I have been in a relationship where, my man provided everything for me, everything, right? And all I did was I worked a little bit, but not that much, just to get like some stuff, you know what I'm saying, that I wanted. But it was, that time in my life was truly a blessing, because that's how I started my business. I had the space and the time to. I would not have been able to start my business if he wasn't if he wasn't providing for me on that level. And I'm so grateful for that relationship, and I'm so grateful that I got to experience that energy. But one thing that I've learned is that if that relationship doesn't work out, as a woman, what are you going to do to take care of yourself if you're solely dependent on a man? You have to have your own money. You know what I'm saying? You have to have your own way, at least, to make money if things don't work out. Right? At that, I know some men may be resentful when they hear that, but I mean, if you're dealing with a man who's not financially struggling, he wants to do those things. It's not using. That's what he wanted to do. He the one who told me to quit my job. So, I know, I'm sure this is going from this place to that place, whatever, honey. But I just wanted to share what's on my mind. So let me continue. So it's very natural for a woman to desire resources from a man, and it's also very natural for a man who loves his woman and his family to desire to provide for her and them. That's very natural. But I think that the way that women are going about it is just not right. You know what I'm saying? Energetically, and it's just not sexy at all. I don't know. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying these like toxic TikTokers. Like they just like, it's not cute. And a lot of these men are just so scorned and scarred. And of course they're gonna like not treat me like that, because I'm not going to speak too much about my personal energy when it comes to dating. Let's just say I am a very lovely person to be around. And so, we don't have those type of problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, I respect them. They respect me. I enjoy them. They enjoy me. It's a nice thing. Men naturally want to give when they love and like you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to beg and demand and plead and all of that weird stuff. Like, if they don't, I don't know. But that's something that I'm going to save certain things for women only privately, because it's a level of consciousness that has been lost. And that consciousness is not from the 50s and the 60s when our ancestors wasn't able to have a job. That's not the consciousness that I'm referencing. The consciousness I'm referencing is the goddess consciousness, the divine feminine consciousness. And so let's take it back to why all of this is happening. Why is all this happening, right? Because this period in my life where I'm like starting to kind of date again and just kind of see what's going on, and I'm not like fully in it, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just kind of still taking it slow. But what I'm noticing, I'm like, wow, these men are very hurt right now. Like, they're so hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of pain and hurt, and then it's like a lot of bitterness too. And it's just also like it's a lack of like personal accountability and like trauma healing I'm seeing. But you know what? I'm not saying that it's like that with all men, because there's so many amazing men who like to self-reflect, take accountability, heal their trauma, be balanced in their energies, be a masculine energy, but also embody their feminine energy, which is honoring their emotions. There's a lot of men who are natural providers and protectors and nurturers and lovers. And there's so many amazing good men, so many, oh my gosh. And I'm so grateful for these men. And there are so many men who are amazing followers. And this doesn't mean that they have perfect mental and emotional health. This doesn't mean that they are perfect. But what it does mean is that they are trying. And I love that about them. So I just want to hold space for those men because I love them. And I'm here I'm here to tell women that there's a lot of them here, but they don't like the way that a lot of women are carrying themselves. It does not make them feel safe. And I would like women to change their approach, you know what I'm saying, a little bit. But I also want men to change their approach too, because the reason why women are behaving this way is because you were not honoring them when you had the chance. You were not honoring them. And this is not me saying the men who is listening right now, because you probably weren't born, but our ancestors, they didn't really honor their women enough, some of them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Not enough, right? So we got through all this. We got through the practical, right? And y'all, in the future, I'm going to have some men that I respect on this podcast, so that they can tell you, because I am practical, but I am highly, highly, highly spiritual, and very much into the metaphysics and the, everything else. So I love that men can ground me in that way. So I will have some very respectable men on this podcast that, I feel is worthy of being here. That I wouldn't mind the people who trust me to trust them, so I will have some of them soon. But here's what I am thinking. Here's what's going on, really. Are y'all ready? Hold up. Take a little pause. Take a little sip. Put your thinking caps on. Open up your mind, open up your spiritual energy centers, and listen to what's going on, honey, okay? Because this is going to go all the way back to Africa before slavery, okay? So there was a time on the planet where we had our indigenous ancestors. And when I say indigenous, I mean, I don't like to say Native American, because Native American actually is an insult. They would prefer indigenous, right? So we had our indigenous ancestors, we had our African ancestors. That's obviously all parts of Africa. So Egypt, Nigeria, everywhere, And they practice a spirituality called animism, right? And what that is, and it may have showed up in different terms, like, Yoruba or ancient Kemet and things like that, Kemetic spirituality. But really what that was is honoring the energy, the spirit in all things, paying homage to the trees, paying homage to the ocean, paying homage to the sun. The god Ra is the sun. The ocean is the goddess Simoya. The thunder is the god Shango. The different gods and goddesses are all representation of nature. That's how much we honor nature. Nature is Mother Nature. That is a feminine goddess energy. African spirituality is goddess energy, although there are gods too. It's we have Ra, we have Anubis, we have Shango, but it paid homage to the feminine essence as well, which is Mother Nature, the cosmos, astrology, tarot, divination. All these things are feminine energy. It's all esoteric. It's all very spiritual, right? That was balance. That was what balanced us out. When we danced, when we sang, you know what I'm saying? When we conjured up our ancestral spirits for blessings and harvests to help us to survive and thrive. That's all feminine, divine goddess, feminine energy. That's a feminine aspect of God, right? Because God is women and man, not women and man. That's actually very human. God is feminine and masculine energy. You know what I'm saying? But what happened was you had some people that came over and they killed and raped and destroyed and deleted. They actually stole some things though and kept it for themselves and used it against us to enslave us mentally and spiritually and emotionally, which, is hitting in the secret societies. All the things they're using in the secret societies, that all came from us. They just put a negative spin on it. You know, the magic that they use, the spells that they cast on the consciousness of everyone. That all came from our ancestors. Our ancestors were very high level beings. You think our technology, our spirituality, you think all that stuff is high level now? Oh, hell no. There's so much things hidden, and that's what they call a cult. A cult just means hidden, but they taught you to fear it. They taught you to fear the words esoteric and occult and witchcraft, and associate it with dark forces, when in all reality witchcraft just simply means the craft of the wise, understanding nature and how to make it work for you, using it, which is making some tea if your kids get sick. You know what I'm saying? But we'll be dissecting all these things like as time goes on, but just saying, everything that was very natural to our ancestors, they now call witchcraft, right? And then they put it in the Bible that it's evil, and taught our ancestors that everything that they used to do was evil, and anybody who tried to carry that energy on, they were murdered, they were thrown off the ship, they were raped, they were killed, they were taken away from who they truly are. Their spirituality was taken from them, the divine feminine goddess consciousness that balanced out the masculine brain as well, the thing that created peace and harmony on planets. Back in ancient Egypt, there were sacred unions between man and women, and infidelity was actually not only a sin. I don't want to say it was punishable by death, but it was definitely something that's not good. They were allowed to get divorces, but it was very bad if there was infidelity, and there were a lot of punishments by law. You know what I'm saying? There was balance between the masculine and the feminine energy. You know what I'm saying? There was balance. But now, so let's come back. So what we are going to call those people who came over and oppressed our spirituality, oppressed the goddess energies, Isis, Medusa, Lilith, all those things. What we're going to call them is toxic patriarchal consciousness. The oppressors of our ancestors are what I reference toxic patriarchal consciousness, right? So they bought over this religion, and I'm not saying that the religion is not true. I'm not saying that at all, because I grew up Christian. I believe that Jesus is real too, but I also know that Jesus is Horus. I also know that Mother Mary is actually Isis, and I also know that Jehovah is Ra. But the stories have been changed. I also know that Eve isn't actually Adam's first wife. It was actually Lilith, and they took that out because they don't want women to be in their power, right? They didn't want women to be equal, so that they made it Adam and Eve. I know that they changed a lot of the stories in the Bible, so yeah. If you read the Willie Lynch speech, you'll see how this all has manifested, especially in the melanated communities. Now, here we are years later, where the information in the Willie Lynch speech is still playing out. They literally wrote, for 400 years after slavery, they will continue to be mentally enslaved because of the things that we have put into place. And it is showing up in dating and relationships right now. This imbalance between men and women, it's all because of the imbalance of the masculine and the feminine energy. So now what is happening on the planet right now is that Mother Nature doesn't need us. We need her, right? And she, as the goddess, is so tired of all of this war and pollution and destruction that not only has she started to create floods and tornadoes and fires and different things like that because she's angry, she's bringing the value of her energy back into us. And mind you, we are all made of nature, so this consciousness is coming through us. The sun is activating our DNA and making us remember ourselves. Why do you think so many people are going back to their ancestors? Why do you think people are going back to African spirituality? Why do you think people are starting to become more psychic again? Because that's actually normal for us. That's how we survive. Why do you think so many people are reading tarot that comes from our ancient ancestors? You know what I'm saying? me, you know, why do you think that we're using candles? Why do you think that we're putting herbs and stuff together to create solutions? Because that's what we do. That's feminine energy. That's goddess energy. That's our spirituality. That's who we are, and that's what balances us. And when we honor the goddess, right, men respect women. And when we honor God, women respect men. You see the God in him, he sees the goddess in you. A God naturally wants to provide for a goddess, because a God knows that when he gives to a goddess, she is going to multiply it. A God knows, like, let's look at Gucci Man, right? He gave her a certain amount of money. Look at how much money she made for him when he came back from jail. You give a goddess $10,000, she's going to find a way to make it $1 million, right? So providing for a goddess is, you give a goddess some food, some money for some groceries and stuff like that, she's going to cook you a meal. You pay a goddess's bills, she's going to be so in her juicy divine feminine energy that her sacral chakra and her yoni is going to be so potent and juicy that when she feeds you this energy, it makes you more successful, because she has the time to nurture her feminine energy. That is how a god sees providing for a goddess. And a goddess, you know, she receives from her god because she trusts him. She trusts him. And that's divine love. That's sacred union. That's what the world is missing. Now, if you have made it this far, I'd be curious to know what you think about this. And I just want to say, everything that I said, you can do your own research. Please do your own research. Do your own research, baby. The divine feminine is rising through the planet. She's balancing. She's sending her frequencies from the ocean, from the ground that we walk on, from the sun. Why do you think they want you to stay in the house? Why do you think they don't want you to go outside anymore? Because the sun is activating your memories, boo. Why do you think they keep trying to distract you with all this fake media? Because they don't want you to see. The revolution is televised, boo. It's the age of Aquarius, this technology. You can learn whatever you want to learn. So they want to put out all these frequencies. Why do you think they keep trying to program the men to be more feminine? Why do you think they're trying to program the men to kill and to be in their lower natures? Because if they rise to their higher chakras from their root chakra, then they'll see through the illusion, and then they'll become gods again. And then the women they'll come from their lower nature and they'll become goddesses again. And guess what happens when gods and goddesses come together? They create heaven on earth, because love is the highest frequency of all. They don't want that. So this podcast is a journey to divine love, baby. It's a journey to divine love. I'm on my own journey to divine love. Actually, you know, I have found divine love within myself, and I'm grateful for that. The God and Goddess within, right? And I'll share more in the future about this, but something that I have learned is that as men and women, we have God and Goddess energy within us, masculine and feminine energy, and we tend to attract like as a woman, I may tend to attract a masculine energy that's like my own inner masculine. So if my inner masculine energy, which is the energy, you know, that shows up for my feminine is my soul, my essence, right? The masculine is the way that I commit to myself. You know what I'm saying? If my masculine energy doesn't fully commit to me, maybe I might manifest somebody who's not fully committed. Doesn't have to be cheating. It could just be not truthful, not present, right? And for a man, maybe if his feminine energy, which is his soul, his emotions, right? If that is very low, very low vibrational, he doesn't pay any attention to it, he might be attracting some masculine women. Or he may attract feminine women but make them masculine because he doesn't honor his own feminine energy, so he can't honor hers, which makes her more masculine because she doesn't feel safe. It's a lot of dynamics energetically that's happening, in relationships. And I hope that y'all follow me. I feel like anybody who's listening to this, you are meant to be here. And you are allowed to agree or disagree, but just do so respectfully. So thank you for listening. It felt so good to talk about this. Yeah, and I look forward to continuing the conversations. Feel free to follow me on social medias at the Mystic Therapist _ on Instagram and TikTok. My website is www.flamesoflove.universe. My YouTube channel is Flames of Love Universe. I am a psychotherapist, creative arts therapist, psychic medium, tarot reader. I have my own spiritual store online, so feel free to click the link, order some deliciousness, and support my goddess business. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have a great day and that you feel enlightened after this conversation. Mwah.